Hello YouTubers and Doctor Who fans, and once again welcome to another Doctor Who action figure review. Now, it's been a long time since I did my last action figure review, as for weeks and weeks I've spent late nights revising for all of my A-level exams for the summer. Last week I've just finished all of my A-level exams, so that is it. College is completely done. I don't have to do any more exams. I've got all the summer off, and now all I have to do is just wait and find out how I've done in my results, which I'll find out in August. So, because I finished last week, I've got a lot of free time now over the summer because I'm off. So, starting with this video, I am going to be doing many videos to make up for the gap in the last few months, because I think my last actual action figure review was in February, and that was the K1 robot. And I noted at the end of that review that the work was starting to pile up back then, and I said I'd review this afterwards, but I've just not had time at all. But now I do. So here at long last, here is the long-awaited review of the classic Dalek collector set, which, as you can see, contains 3 Daleks from different eras. One Dalek being from the Dead Planet, which is the first episode of the 7-part The Daleks, which is the first ever Dalek story back in 1963, starring William Hartnell as the first Doctor. The Supreme Dalek, which is in the middle, which was from Planet of the Daleks, starring John Pertwee, and that, as you can see, that's a lot bigger than all the other Daleks in this review. It was originally a Dalek which was used in the Peter Cushing film, Daleks Invasion Earth 2160 AD, and the Dalek on the right is a Dalek from Genesis of the Daleks. So first of all, let's take a look at the first Dalek, which is the Dalek from the Dead Planet, or the Daleks, whatever you want to call it. And as you can see, already you can tell it's a lot different to the bronze Daleks with the gold hemispheres, which I reviewed previously, like a year ago now. So it's been a long time coming that I've actually reviewed Daleks in figure form. It's been like a year, but there'll be quite a few over the summer to make up for that, as I noted at the start of this video. So yeah, it's obviously different to the bronze Dalek, colour-wise and size as well. It's a lot smaller. First of all, we'll start off with the fender, which is at the bottom. There's not really much to say about this, because on the bronze Dalek, it's like a dark green colour. It had all the detail with all the bolts and everything like that, and as you can see, this doesn't. It's just all small and plain, but that is correct, because that's how the Daleks looked back in 1963 when they first appeared. And if we just go further up, we can see the blue hemispheres, very nicely detailed, and also the whole body is painted in silver and white, very nicely detailed, different shades of silver, like around here on the neck as well. And the weapons, they are normally articulated, and they're nicely detailed. You can do a 360 with the plunger or the sucker arm, whatever you want to call it, but you may notice that there's quite a few paint bleed, and some paint has just rubbed off now. It's on my finger there, I just rub it off. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame, but to be honest, it's quite authentic if you think about it, because back then the Daleks generally looked a bit like that. I mean, when I pose it on the shelf, I just pose it like that to make it less noticeable that you can see all the paint bleed or paint rub on the around the ball joint of the plunger, where you can turn it 360 degrees. So it is a bit of a shame, but I'm not really that bothered, to be honest. So the plunger does a 360, and you can see it's a lot smaller than the Bronze Dalek's plunger as well, because those plungers were a lot more thicker, and I don't think this is to do with the continuity of the show. I think it was just more to do with the scaling of the actual weaponry, because as you'll see in my reviews of both classic Daleks and new series Daleks to come, the scaling of the weapons change, and I don't think it's anything to do with the series itself. It's more to do with the scaling of the weapons. And if we have a look at the gun, or the whisk, it's nicely detailed. You've got these hinges here, which is correct. That's how they looked in the story. And you can move it around like that, 360. So you can pose it in a variety of positions as well. And also note there's no paint rub there. There's more paint rub on the plunger's ball joint. I don't know why, but that's how it is. Around the neck area, it's very nicely detailed. And you may note there are no slats around the neck area, because back then they didn't have them, because that's correct, and because they didn't have them because it was believed they could only move around on metal. And by the way, the wheels, they're just two wheels. For some reason there's no reel there for some reason. But yeah, there was no slats on the original Daleks, and it was only believed they could move around on metal. In the second Dalek story, which is the Dalek Invasion of Earth, in 1964, they added the dish on the back of the Dalek so they could move around London, and they still had no slats. The slats weren't formally introduced to the Daleks until the third story, which was The Chase. And we can see here as well the mesh. You can just see it if you can see by the light of the camera. It's very nicely detailed as well. Probably more detailed than the actual new series Daleks. And the eye is just painted blank white, which is correct, because they didn't have a pupil. The pupil wasn't introduced until 1972's Day of the Daleks, which was a John Pertwee story. And obviously the headlamps, they're small, which is correct, and the rings on the eye stalk are all together, which is also correct, and it's also painted as a light blue like the hemispheres on the lower part of the Dalek body. And the articulation of the head can do a 360, and the eye moves up and down, and the eye is actually removable as well. So and you can just easily click it back in like that. So overall, I like the detail on these Daleks. One of my favourite designs. I just like the whole colouring of the white, silver and blue hemispheres on this Dalek. If we just do a comparison to the bronze Dalek from the new series, a bit dusty because not used it for quite a while. You can see there is a vast difference in the detail. Now moving on to the Dalek from Planet of the Daleks, or the Supreme Dalek from Planet of the Daleks, and obviously the articulation here is the same. The eye moves up and down. This can do a 360. It's just the generic Dalek articulation. I don't need to really go through it. The plunger can also move up and down, but this whisk doesn't. But I'm not really fussed because the whisk didn't really do that in the story anyway, because you all saw it for like a few minutes, the final part of Planet of the Daleks in 1973, and obviously the whole body, it's got a shiny finish, glossy finish, like the other two Daleks in this set, and the fender is a lot bigger than the Dead Planet Dalek, and that's all shiny as well. The bottom, this has three wheels, unlike the Dead Planet Dalek, which only had two. Has a third wheel here, and the hemispheres are painted gold, like the bronze Dalek nowadays, what we all know and love. And obviously there are slats which have been obviously painted on because it's just a bit wobbly, like, if I can describe that correctly. And here, around here, there's no mesh, which is correct because there wasn't. And the headlamps are quite unique because they're purple as well, and they're a lot bigger. And the eye stalk is very notable because it's a lot longer. The reason for that is because they decided to add a headlamp on the end of the eye stalk to just make it stand out, and it lit up when it spoke. So there's not really much else to say about the Supreme Dalek. Oh yeah, and it's got a circle in between its weapons as well. And there's not as much detail on the gun as the Dead Planet Dalek, as the guns just went like that from 1972, or actually I think it was the mid-60s onwards. So overall, Supreme Dalek, really good, and it's the only way you can get this figure at the moment, as it's never been re-released like the other two. Because that's getting re-released in the Wave 2 of the classic special effects, sound effects Daleks wave. The final Dalek is from Genesis of the Daleks, and the whole body is painted grey. The hemispheres are black, and the fender is still small. It's a bit bigger than the Dead Planet Dalek. And it's very unique because the whisk is painted sort of bronze colour, and the plunger is just all the same really, and the end of it is painted black, and it's got a silver dot as well. And the eye stalk has got a pupil, and obviously it's got rings around its eye as well. And the head is got a matte finish as well. And obviously the headlamps are smaller, and it has slats because they were introduced in the chase. So that's really it, really. So thank you very much for watching my review of the Classic Dalek Collector Set 1. I'm just rushing at the end because my battery is running out on my iPad. See you next time.